Welcome to Block 5 of the Cheshire Quilters Guild 2018 Block of the Month, Indian Star. First thing we're going to do is make 4 flying geese, and I'm going to use the 5 square method or no waste flying geese method. It's also the method described in the instructions for the wing clipper from Studio 180's Designs. And so to start with, I'm going to use my magic wand to draw on the stitching lines to start with. So I'm going to stitch along both of those lines that I've just drawn. If you don't have a magic wand, there's other tools that are very similar to this for drawing the 2 stitching lines. The other option is to draw one diagonal from point to point and then stitch a 1/4 inch on each side of it. That would be equivalent to stitching on these drawn lines. So let me do that. And I'll meet you back here after I've got my stitching done. Okay, I've stitched my 2 lines, and I'm going to now cut these apart along the diagonal. I'm going to take these over to my pressing surface, and I'm going to press these triangles back toward my fabric D. I'll see you back here in just a minute. Alright, so now I have 2 of these units, and what we're going to do now is take our remaining fabric D squares and set them on the remaining corner of our fabric B square, and I'm again going to mark 2 sewing lines with my quilter's magic wand, or if you're just going to mark the diagonal, I'll show you the other pair. Or we can just mark the diagonal and then stitch on either side of that line. Looks pretty good. And we can just stitch a 1/4 inch on either side of that line. So let me do that remaining stitching, and I'll meet you back here after I get these. I'll cut them apart again and press, and I'll meet you back here with my geese to show you how to trim them up. Okay, so here's one of my geese units, and I'm going to demonstrate how to trim it up using my Tucker trimmer. I want it to be 3.5 by 6.5. So I put my V at the point of my goose, and then I can trim 2 sides. Rotate the unit 180 degrees. Now I'll be able to put the 6.5 and 3.5 inch lines right along the sides. My V should be right at the point of my goose, and with 2 more trims, there's my perfect flying geese. Now we can also trim them using a regular ruler. I want the point to be right in the middle at the 3.25 inch point, and then we're gonna trim our unit so the intersections are at the 3.25 inch line at the bottom, at the 6.25 inch, and at the 1/4 inch, and trim these up. So I'm going to finish trimming these, and then we'll come back here to see what our next step is. Next up on our Indian Star is to make a 4 patch using our fabric A and F squares. So let's do that. I'm going to sew them together in pairs, and then the rows together in pairs. I'm going to furl the seams in the 4 patch. So I'm going to start by pressing toward my fabric F, my darker fabric, and I'll meet you back here when I'm ready to furl so I can demonstrate that for you. Alright, so here's my 4 patch. I've stitched mine, and I stitched them in pairs and pressed to the dark side, as you see, and then I stitched the 2 pairs together in a row. Now What I want to do is now is furl the seams. And what I want you to see is this seam is laying in this direction. And what I want to do is I want this seam, I want to go clockwise around this. I want to go this seam lay down, then this one, and then this one. Well, see how these two want to go like that? Well, pick up your piece and just pop it. And those one or two threads in there will pop apart. There's lots of names for this: twisting the seam, spinning the seam. And then I'm going to take this back over to the ironing board. I'm going to press that nice and flat, and you'll get a lot less bulk in your intersections if you furl your seams like that way. So we're just pop the seam apart and press it open, and you'll see you've got a little fore patch that mirrors the one on the front, on the back. Be right back. Alright, first I want you to look at how I furled my seams, and I've got that cute little fore patch on the back. And now we can lay out the block with the 4 squares, our 4 flying geese, and our fore patch in the center. And that's the arrangement for the Indian star block. Now I'm going to sew this together in rows. I'm going to sew these 3 together, these 3 together, and the 3 in the middle together in rows. And in each row I'm going to press the seams away from the flying geese. I'm going to press toward these fabrics and toward this fabric. Once I get that done, I'll be able to nest the seams between the rows and sew the rows together. So I'll meet you back here when I have the block finished. And there you have it, Block 5 Indian Star Cheshire Quilters Guild 2018 Block of the Month. See you back here next month for Block 6 and 7, Star Puzzle and Rippling Star.